With Hayao Miyazaki. Is that ringing any bells?
Yeah. Oh, not hiatus Kayuda, my bad.
No,
I thought you said hiatus Kayuda.
Miyazaki.
Yeah. I was like,
Alright, do y'all know Studio Ghibli films?
Yeah.
Like Spirited Away?
Spirited Away.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So essentially there's this one guy, he creates his animated films, essentially like the Disney of Japan. He's one of my favorite film creators. He just makes these really good films. But I was watching this documentary of him. He was going through his filmmaking process and that kind of thing. And he had this quote that stuck out to me. And he said, you have to be determined to change the world with your film, even if nothing changes. That is what it means to be a filmmaker. So for y'all, I know this is a completely different medium, being music, but do you agree with that quote? And if you do, when you create music, how do you try to change up the world?
I started off. Good question. It's a solid question, man. My gosh. Oh, man. I feel like every single song means something to me in terms of what I want people to understand about who I am, what I know, and what I represent. I feel like, man, what? That's a hard question. I really feel like every single track I make, I take the time to dedicate who I am and put within a track. So I feel like it represents me to the highest extent. As I've grown in my craft, I feel like there's more quality content going inside those lyrics that means something compared to years ago when I was just kind of like saying anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can hear and feel the difference from a track that explains somebody who they are compared to a track that doesn't. You know what I mean? So if anybody hears it, the quality of it in terms of who I am and is able to relate to it, I see that's changed to some extent, because somebody retains something that you've made or created to wherever it applies to them in their own perspective.
Yeah.
That's change in the world, because I think that's change. I think that's change in the world. I'm not making a track saying I want this to change. I'm really just trying to express myself to the highest way possible, and for that to be relayed within people who are listening to it, for them to relate to it. So
I can kind of, piggyback off that. I definitely agree with that, because I think to the filmmaker's point, I think that's true, but I don't know if that's, at least for me, like something I'm consciously, like you said, like thinking about when you're making the song. And I think changing the world is such a broad term, like the effect you can have, or like just the idea of, I think, like wanting to be like a pure artist in the sense of like, I'm just going to be unapologetically like myself, and like however that translates to people, that in itself is like creating a change, like you being the change you want to see, like per se. Or like you said, like it made me, what you said actually made me think about like a Kendrick interview I remember I watched when I was a kid. He talked about like, you know, like I'm just making music for myself, but like the fact that someone can hear my song and they say like saved their life, or like it moved them to where they, you know what I mean, they see things different, or they maybe were gonna make a decision that they didn't make, that is changing the world. And I think that like, yeah, like as an artist, as long as you focus on like just being your pure self, wherever that takes you, because you don't, like someone was mentioning too, is like you don't have to box yourself into anything, wherever you're at, as long as what you're doing and what you're following and what you're choosing to share is rooted in like that pureness, that feeling, like inevitably I think like over time you're gonna naturally resonate with people, like whether it's a small group of people or it's the whole world, you know what I mean? And whether it's a small scale or large scale, you're definitely gonna have some type of shift, or you'll see some type of shift.
Can you say that quote one more time?
Yeah. So he said, you have to be determined to change the world with your film, even if nothing changes. That is what it means to be a filmmaker.
It kind of reminds me of Bruce Lee's philosophy with how he practices martial arts. And in a book where it's called The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, Jeet Kune Do being his martial art. He's talking about martial art, but it kind of goes into any art, like the art of living, for example, or the art of what we do, whatever anybody else might do. And it's kind of like this idea of with every movement, or everything he does, he stakes his whole life on it. And that quote kind of reminds me of it. And that quote kind of made me inspired a little bit. I'm like, damn, I need to work harder. Nah, for real. Like, I don't know. Like, it's good. And just being here, hearing y'all, God is working. Indeed. Yeah. I don't have too much to say besides that. I definitely agree. Yeah, for sure.
So, I would say I probably definitely 100% agree with it, in the sense that I feel, especially with music, because I mean, film, not everybody really is an average film, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But music is everywhere you go, even if you're not trying to hear music. So I think you have to try to change the world? No. But I think you have a responsibility to at least try. I can only speak for myself, but I kind of lived my music career by this reggae artist named Luciano, which is essentially, he said, Jah sent me as a messenger to teach the youths them about roots and culture. So when I make my music, I'm saying, okay, as a man who's been through homelessness and all these sort of tribulations, I want to make music for those children, those people going through that, to say, okay, there's someone on the other end. So yeah.
So,
I feel like for me with music, like everyone's saying, I feel like music has an intention behind it, even if you don't really set one. Like, music is going to hit you the way that it's meant to hit you sometimes. It's not even about what my intention is. Like, people are going to get what they need from it at all times. I feel like when I make music or when I make songs, it's more so changes where I'm at. And I feel like I'm the ripple effect, and if my music can impact me and heal me and change me the way that it has, then it can do that for other people. And it's like the you never know who's watching type thing. Like, anybody could be watching, you could be inspiring people that you don't even know. And it doesn't even have to be a whole song, it could be a line, a lyric, a word that you say that just triggers somebody to be better, to do better, to feel better. So I feel like music is really just whatever you want it to be, but regardless, anything you do on earth has a reaction. So it's just knowing what way it's going to react based on your own intention that you set type thing. So, yeah, that's real.
Y'all answered that really well, too. Really good.
I think we're artists.
Yeah. I mean, so, I'll just do two more. And then, so for right now, we can anybody can pick it up and I'll have to go down this, like if you don't want to. What makes a MarkTheKeep song? What makes a Kobus song? Like, what makes a Into Your Name Here song? And like, how would you say like you're different than other artists? And this is kind of piggybacking off the last thing, but yeah.
alright, so I'll start this time. So what makes a Xristos song? I feel like she's right, not every song has an intention, but when I write, I try to begin with the end in mind. Like how he said about the beats kind of being like a template for the song. I get a feeling, and then based off that feeling, sometimes I pray. I'm like, let me capture this feeling in words. Like if the beat is using me as a vessel to use it as words. And sometimes, it's not the most, not sometimes, it's actually not often at all, it's not the most productive stuff, and it's easy to go that way. It's easy to make trash, or not trash, things that sell. But I'd rather just be true to myself, you know what I mean? And in being true to myself, there is some foolishness, because I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely foolishness, and there's also the opposite. There's also a lot of good, and I feel like one of the things that make this worth it at all is the good. And being able to project that energy into the universe. Like sometimes I also try to be careful with the things that I'm saying, because you're welcoming things into your life by saying certain things. So if I'm not living a certain way, I won't talk about it. And then there's the youth who are watching, like the nieces and nephews. So I can't be out here disrespecting women too crazy, like because I have nieces and nephews watching me, and. Yeah, I forgot what I was going with this.
No, you're good.
What makes it Xristos is the energy, I would say, is the energy. Yeah.
I want to just hop off him real quick. Like, I remember, this is reminiscing real quick. First time I ever saw Xristos or even met Xristos, he played one song, and it's called Heart of a Lion. And that song stuck with me for so long. And it was just a couple of words that you said in the beginning of the song, like the hook, that just stuck with me, bro. And I couldn't stop saying it. I couldn't stop playing it, bro. Like he was saying, I never lose, only I just keep trying. I got the heart of a tuck. I got the.
I'll never lose as long as I just keep trying.
I never.
Got the
I got the eye of a tiger, heart of a lion.
Yes, sir.
I feel like water, but my passion burn like a fire.
I
Bro,
tell them something else high.
twin blades. I was like, bro, bro.
Yeah,
But like,
that, bro.
no, when you hear something that resonates with somebody, I was like, okay, that was like, even the tempo of the song and the beat itself, I was like, that's Xristos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's who I want to work with. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when you can hear somebody and it sounds like it represents who they are because they're being the pure self.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
I know who I am.
It's
so much easy to meet somebody in the middle when you both know who you are and what you represent, instead of like somebody meeting, I know who I am and this person's still trying to find out. And we're all trying to find out. There's levels to it, right?
Yeah.
There's levels to it, but as an artist, when you can fine tune who your being is into something, people resonate with it.
Real recognize real. Yeah.
Exactly. And MarkTheKeep, man, I'm just doing a whole bunch of stuff. What makes MarkTheKeep? I can't answer that question, bro.
Authenticity.
I try to be authentic.
There's
That's
a
it.
light that shines through.
You know what I mean? That's it. Like, I can only be myself. It's hard to define it, but you know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just kinda,
Yeah, I guess what makes a Kobus song, I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think it's hard to quantify. I think for me, like, the main things I hope people take away is definitely like the authenticity. And I think in that, like something you were saying, Xristos, I think is so dope, is like it doesn't have to be like, sometimes maybe I want to make this type of song, but I just feel like regardless with whatever type of music I'm doing or putting out, I just want people to understand that like it is genuine. I'm never gonna like do something just to get a reaction or get a certain type of response. Like I just did that because that's just where I was at that time. And I think like a lot of it too is very therapeutic. So I just want people to get to this, like, I feel like sometimes like just my personality and like just the things I went through growing up, like I had a hard time expressing myself sometimes, like just verbally having a conversation. But I always felt like I could communicate my best through my writing and like just my music. So also just feeling like maybe if you're not getting too much, or if maybe feel like you're scratching the surface in terms of like knowing me as a person, you can hear my music and like really get it. Because I really feel like with my music, I'm constantly just pulling from everything, like conversations, like things that have happened to me, obviously things you go through. And I feel like ever since I kind of geared my writing and my focus on how I create music in that way, that feeling and that sense of like fulfillment for myself and how I like sit with my music and like how it feels to me has definitely like vastly changed. And I mean, obviously I hope like that resonates. I'm sure it does. So that's like one of the things for sure as well.
You got one?
I second everything.
Yeah, no, really, real shit.
This was I'm glad we're documenting this because this is good. Like just to hear, because like me asking this is not like me. Like is it like a what's that question that like you already know the answer to?
Rhetorical.
Yeah. It's not like me saying this and like I'm just like I'm genuinely want to know. So that's
questions though. Yeah.
Like these are some buzzing now. So yeah. All right. I got some more questions, but I'll just ask one so we can wrap it up. But y'all didn't want to answer? Yeah.
I don't have anything to say. I already what I said.
I just want to make sure not cutting anybody off. All right. So this December, year's about to close. I think it's healthy as individuals, humans, to reflect on how we grew in this past year. Look on and think about what we learned and think about where we want to be. So just quickly, you don't gotta go into too much depth, but what's one of the biggest L's that you took this year? What did you learn from it, and where do you want to be next year? Just something quick. I
got a big L, man. I got a big ass L, and you don't even know this L, so it's gonna be awesome to hear and see your reaction.
I don't even know which L to choose.
I'm an engineer, of course, and I've been studying for exam, and I've been studying endlessly, and I got the results back, and I did not pass the exam. which didn't feel like it hurt because I felt like I put my best foot forward. That was the biggest L I think I've taken. I don't feel it as an L though, because I can't let this credential define who I am, who I can be, regardless of the fact. Like, it's not really gonna change. It's just a couple of letters. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm practicing it as well. So that's the biggest I've taken.
And what did you learn from it?
I learned so much. I learned I could put a lot of effort into something and it'd be a bust. I could put my whole life into something and then it not be a bust, and it be a bust. Now I feel like it can reflect on a lot of different things, because when you do put your whole effort into something, like you wanted to reach this end explanation goal, and it may not even get towards that step, or that second step. Does that define me? So.
Yeah, that was good. That was good, yeah.
I feel like my biggest L would be more like of an internal L, not of an external L. Of like, more like not slowing down when I knew I needed to slow down, speeding up in like the wrong seasons, like not listening to myself type thing. So I feel like that was, and the L's don't manifest majorly, but they manifest in little ways that are noticeable. So I feel like an accumulation of those have made those L's. But definitely learning, it taught me how to slow down, listen to myself, so that I don't get caught up in like the hype of like doing things a certain way or like whatever, just really going more inward. I've learned a lot this year from the L's that I have taken. It's like you have to actually listen to yourself to be able to navigate through life, see what it is that really feels more authentic to you, especially with creating, instead of kind of just going with it because you want to go with it type thing. Yeah.
So my L is probably more on the personal side. If you guys are familiar with my music, this is what my song Battle of Ottawa is about. Kind of learning the life lesson that you can know somebody for 10 plus years, 15 plus years, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you just come across people who have ulterior motives. So having been through that, it also taught me two things. One, that I have to realize that you can find unconditional love and friendship in the most random places. You can know somebody, you can meet somebody and be like, wow, be right there, energy-wise, versus somebody you've known your whole life. So it taught me two things. Don't try to keep stuff around just because you're used to it. Don't be complacent with some stuff just because, hey, that's been there. And two is to put my trust in God, put my trust in Rastafari, and just trust that God got a way for me, one way or the other.
I guess my biggest L this year, it was definitely a more music-related thing. At the top of the year, I had put out a song with a friend, and it got on like a big like Spotify editorial playlist, and I got like a lot of attention and it was kind of like I felt like I was dreaming almost, like people were reaching out to me, and like I was looking at this playlist, and I'm on this playlist with like some of my favorite artists, and I was like, and the L was, the way it works is like I have all these people like tapping in. I feel like as an artist and where I'm at still, like being so focused on the music and still trying to build like your team and people around you that can kind of help facilitate things that come with that. I wasn't proactive or wasn't in a position where I could be proactive enough to be like, all right, well I need to do this, this and that, and this and that, and this and that to kind of like follow up. And I feel like, it was a lot of, it's like how it was like big engagement, and then it was kind of like, okay, and you kind of go back to where you're at. And I think for a while it was very, I don't want to say discouraging, because it wasn't discouraging, it was just more like, I was like, had all these regrets, and like, I was really so caught up in that. But I think it was a blessing in disguise, because it did program something in my mind, just that happening, to be like, well, if I did it once, I can do it again. Don't get too fixated on like, things that you didn't do, just use it as a means of motivation and like a means to improve and do better. And I think like it definitely put something in my brain to where I was like, obviously I want to keep progressing and get better at my craft, but I also need to be just as proactive in figuring out how to You know what I mean? If I really want to take this serious, like how am I going to do all these other things I have to do, whether it be by myself or with my friends or whoever I can manage to bring along. And yeah, I think it just has me like very much so like hungry and like motivated and like just in a position where like I'm trying to put my best foot forward in all aspects outside of the music, like moving forward, so that hopefully if that, you know, God willing, like were to happen again, or if I'm in a position where more people can tap in again, like it's something there that people can kind of latch onto and stick with. And yeah, I think that it's really just lit like another fire in me. Like it really just put me in a mind frame where I was like, all right, I know what I want to do. I gotta stop like bullshitting. I gotta just like really be on it. And I think, yeah, I'm very happy that I went through that, because I think it put me in a place that I probably would not have been now had I gone through that. So everything happens for a reason.
For sure.
I'll talk to my mom, my parents about it, and they're like, you know, yeah, you know, it's just God is working, bro.
God is working.
All the time, bro. And that's like it's true. It's so powerful. Like things happen. Our conception and our timing of the way things are supposed to happen are so different from His. So you gotta just play your position. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to do. Just stay. You know what I mean? Keep faith and just keep working. So yeah.
Bro, you say that again, man.
It said that resistance comes in proportion to the size of what it is that you want to do. So this is unrelated. I just wanted to say that because of what this is reminding me of that. Love is universal. For me, I would say the biggest L I took was kind of fumbling a relationship, because not being ready. What it taught me, I'm gonna keep it brief. What it taught me was about being a man. Yeah, and the things that I have to do and be as a man.
True.
Now, like not later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for sharing.
Yo, thank you for the questions, bro.
Yeah. People come go. Yeah, so thank y'all for coming out. On behalf of Mark, you know how hard this man works, and you saw all the effort that he put into it, and everybody he collabed with. And if you're creative, you know just how much time and effort you put into something. And it's so good to see the final result. And so we saw it today. We saw how hard Mark worked, and he's growing as an artist, and he's getting really good. So it's awesome to see that. So thanks everybody for coming out.
Thanks.
Yo,